Dim light shines for a lonely mind. A speck of warmth in the cold cast above his clouded sight. His demented eyes. You will stay with me, and we will become one.
Who remembers World of GOO? One of the finest physics-based puzzle games of our time, and certainly one of the biggest successes to ever come out of the indie scene. We all remember World of GOO, don't we?
What the fuck is this video about?
Wasn't it strange? This game had a real personality when it came down to style and presentation. A quirky, emotional personality. That, of course, is not what we were there for. We were there for one reason, and one reason only. To build towers, and bridges, and cubes, and strings. Dozens and dozens of misshapen things. But at the end of the day, what did we take from this? Well, World of GOO is something much more than a mere physics game. It's an experience. Not only do I think it's one of the best puzzle games to exist, but I find it to be one of the greatest examples of inventive storytelling. Through its own quirky little quirks, World of GOO harnesses one of my favorite things about video games as an art form. This game was depressing, emotionally moving. But how's that, you ask? Well, as you know, the goal of the game was to attach these little goo balls to each other to form a sort of reaching arm. There were many different kinds of these goo balls, or species, as the game would put it, and each of these goo balls had different abilities, whether it be stringing along one single strand, disconnecting and reconnecting, or even firing through the air. But what were the goo balls trying to reach? If you can recall, it was always a pipe. To beat the level, you had to get to this pipe so the goo balls could get sucked inside. To find out what exactly was going on, you'd have to read these messages left behind by a character called the Mysterious Sign Painter. The story of the game was told exclusively by the words on these signs. The messages would often be very vague and symbolic. Or, if not symbolic, minimalistic and humorous.
So, how could I say a cute cartoony game about goo balls is depressing? Well, let's just say there's nothing like grinding up a young woman's face into dozens of little pieces and then watching those pieces get processed into a makeup product.
Some of the things you see and hear are very questionable. Sometimes you'll hear children screaming and whining in the distance. Sometimes you'll see disturbing shit like this. You'll reach levels with names like Burning Man and be greeted by surprisingly haunting images. So why? Why did this game take such a dark turn? Why is it able to tap into so many unexpected emotions? And can it really be classified as dark? Only someone with a brain like Kyle Gabler would find himself drawing unbelievably unconventional images that are as adorable, as cartoony, as they are terrifying.
Oh, and message from 2019? It's also worth mentioning that I've never been able to find a way to follow Kyle Gabler's art consistently. Aside from a cute website and some occasional blog posts, he's, I guess what you could call pretty reclusive on the internet, despite being the artist, writer, and composer for World of GOO. But even though he doesn't put himself out there, which given the state of the internet I absolutely can understand, I hope you know, Kyle, we think your art is cool.
But you can't deny, as funny and lighthearted as it is, this game is a pretty dark experience. Just listen to some of this music. And what a sad plot. The game pretty much ends with the goo balls discovering that they've gone extinct, and there's no place in the world for them. Not to mention, you're the reason this happened. See, in helping the goo balls reach the pipes at the end of each level, you've single-handedly disposed of their entire species. The pipes lead to the massive world of Goo Corporation, where the goo balls are slaughtered, turned into food, drinks, and beauty products. Lovely. There are so many potentially symbolic messages in the game's storytelling that I might as well assume that Kyle Gabler was just trying to fuck with our heads. Which could be the case, seeing as many of the queer musical tracks were actually just recycled from Gabler's older projects. You may not find any implied meaning to World of Goo, but it will definitely possess the ability to engross you, tap into your emotions, and make you feel something strange. And that's a good thing. No matter how logical, how meaningful an emotion is, it's still a real emotion, and it doubles as a memory, because not only did you feel it, but you'll remember it. A piece of your time spent, not only in someone else's world, but in your own world, because you're interpreting it for yourself. Those feelings are real. Very real. And while I may sound like a rambling madman, it's pretty amazing that a bizarre, silly puzzle game can leave behind such a tremendous lasting effect.